I'll just wait for our officers. Thank you. Councillors, I'm just about to open, just to be mindful that we are live streaming this evening, and those, if you can turn your microphones off, and if you would like to speak, I'll ask you to turn your microphones back on and you can speak. So good evening, councillors, officers and members of the public and those in attendance for tonight's live streaming, tonight's planning meeting. I declare that this meeting is open at 6:31, and my name is Councillor Julie Williams and I'm the Mayor of Darebin City Council and also tonight's chairperson for the planning meeting. Tonight's meeting will be live streamed and will be recorded, and those who would like to watch it will be available to do so as soon as practical after the meeting. I also would like to welcome and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we gather here this evening and pay my respects to the Wurundjeri, the Warrawong people, and their continuing connection to the land, water and culture, and also to their connection and recognising their past, present and emerging. I would also just quickly like to acknowledge our memberships this evening. So we have Councillor Suzanne Newton, our Deputy Mayor. I have an apology for Councillor Demetriadis, an apology for Councillor Gaetano Greco. I have Councillor Hannon here this evening, Councillor Tim Lawrence, Councillor Trent McCarthy, Councillor Lena Messina and Councillor Susan Renning. To our officers, I have Rachel, Chad, Alia and Hamish here this evening, so thank you. And I'll go straight on to our next item, which is there any disclosures of interest? I believe I don't have any. Thank you. So can I please have straight to confirmation of the minutes from last of the 11th of April. Do I have a mover for that item? Councillor McCarthy, do I have a seconder for that item? Councillor Rennie. I'll put that to vote. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, I'm going to move straight into our consideration of reports this evening on item 5. In reference to the planning policy framework. So, councillors, do we have any questions to our officers? Councillor Messina.
The question is in relation to the Northland Hub, and I just wanted to ensure, does this policy go down all the way down to Northland? I haven't checked that.
Thank you for the question. Yes, the policy does provide some guidance in relation to the Northland East Preston Activity Centre. Again, it's a reiteration of existing policy in that it's a designated activity centre and council should, it's an area where growth is directed. I'd also note that council currently has an active project to prepare a structure plan to guide the growth of that area.
Fantastic, and I know council spent some time with the NERP project. So is there going to be any more progress on the NERP project that you might be aware of?
Thank you. We are currently, as part of the preparation of the structure plan for East Preston, we are contemplating the past NERP work, and we intend to present that to council shortly for your consideration about the future of the entire activity centre in light of state government policy reforms to protect industrial land across Melbourne.
Thank you. I just have Councillor Councillor Messina. I have Rachel Olivier that would like to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to clarify that that last question and the answer isn't directly relevant to the decision in front of you tonight.
Are there any further questions?
I have a supplementary question in
sure,
relation to if council's advocacy policy has been about intergenerational structures and in terms of looking at the future of what the future of housing is in the future. That doesn't make sense. What the housing format will be in the future. Does the structural plan need to consider that moving forward in terms of intergenerational living?
Can I clarify through you, Mayor? The structure plan isn't the matter being considered tonight, and so I'm curious about whether the question is relating to the matter being considered tonight or not.
Put on hold and discuss it at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? If not, do I have a mover for the item? Councillor McCarthy and a seconder? Councillor Rennie. Councillor McCarthy, would you like to speak on the item?
Thanks, Mayor. I'll make it really brief because this is a very straightforward item. Thank you to our officers in bringing it to us. Effectively, the state government, as councillors would be aware, has made a shift in terms of how the planning scheme is expressed and has requested that council effectively reformat and reposition council's existing planning scheme into the new planning policy framework format. So this is effectively a formatting exercise. There are no policy changes. That policy changes are not part of this. And so, Mayor, I'm happy to endorse the proposal that we have in front of us and obviously support the recommendations from the state government as well.
Thank you. Councillor Rennie?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll quite simply just note that whilst it was an exercise in putting this into the state framework, that was time-consuming and required a huge amount of attention to detail and took a significant amount of our staff's time and diligence, and I thank the staff for that work.
Thank you. If there are no further questions or speakers, Councillor Lawrence, do you have something to say?
Yes, Mayor Williams, Chair Williams. This is, as has been said, it's formatting in terms of fitting into the new direction that's being set at the state level, but I think it's a very important document all the same because it carries forward strategic directions for this council that have been developed in consultation with our community, and particularly around where our strategic growth of housing should be along transit corridors. And so those principles are there, and you know, there is a housing aspect to Darebin's planning direction and strategies, and they are being translated again into this new format. And yeah, so I think it's something residents should pay attention to because it is built upon our feedback over many years with residents.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. If there are no further speakers this evening, I'll put that item to vote. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, I'll go to the second item that we have this evening, which is the general planning information on the VCAT applications. Do I have a mover for that item? Councillor Rennie. Do I have a seconder for that item? Councillor Newton. Councillor Rennie.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to note, this is a fairly standard item, and it's really pleasing to see that our time at VCAT has by and large been very well spent, and we have been granted a number of concessions and improvements to planning applications that have arrived. So that is pleasing. I commend the report to everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Newton.
Nothing further, Chair.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward, this item, so I'll put that item to vote. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you to councillors and officers, but that is our only agenda items that we have this evening, and that we have a recommendation to support, that the Planning Committee has decided to support the officers' recommendation, and the officers will proceed to action those recommendations and to notify the Department of Transport and Planning accordingly. So where this, I think that is it. I then